forward to it. All right, here we go. Counting us down in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Set Listing Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson, and it's a timey-wimey episode, but it's a little different. Normally, I was just telling my guest that it's my morning and my guest afternoon, and we switched that around. It's Roz's morning, my evening. Morning coffee, tea, or
Coffee, yeah,
yes?
black coffee, definitely a black coffee. I've already had two, so I'm well underway.
Yeah, very nice. So, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell my listeners a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. I'm Ros Place, Guardian Angel channel, originally from England, but for the last 2 years, we've been traveling the world, or just over 2 years actually. That's me, my husband Eddie, and our two sons, under the guidance of my guardian angel, Trian. And I help people to channel their guardian angels. And we're currently in Malaysia.
What, why did you decide to travel the world?
Great question. Trasan, who is my guardian angel, 3 years ago said to me, "You're going to travel. You're going to travel the world," which came on the back of COVID, us leaving where we'd lived in the south of England, moving to the north of England. And it was something which my whole family were excited about. And in
Hmm.
the space of really just a few months, we were able to pack everything up and begin our travels. We started off in Europe just to get ourselves in the mode of traveling. And we've traveled through South America, Europe, and we're currently in Asia. Malaysia is our first country in Asia. And next month, we're going to Vietnam. So it was
Wow.
all under the guidance of Trasan. So I channel everything from Trasan. Trasan tells us where to go, why to go there. And my whole family actually channel their guardian angels as well, which is pretty exciting and not something I would have anticipated when we began our journey because they weren't channeling then. But that's what we all
Mhm.
do, and it's how we live our lives.
What has what has surprised you most about Malaysia?
Oh, that's a great question. Malaysia is I love it. When we first arrived, we arrived in Kuala Lumpur and it was very hot. I was expecting it to be a lot hotter than it is. It is hot, but it's
Yeah,
not as hot as I've experienced in Brazil, for example. That was like the way I describe that kind of heat that we had in Brazil was it's like you feel like your brain is boiling in your head. It
sure.
was unbelievably hot. And the food is so good here. The people are very friendly. It's very multicultural. There's three kind of like main groups of people. So you have the Malays and you have the Indian and you have the Chinese communities all living together. It's lots of the infrastructure's great, but the food, I think that's been a really nice surprise.
That sounds
Nasi lemak, yeah, I'm all over it.
that sounds awesome. I always like to start at the beginning. So tell us, where did you grow up, and was what kind of music was your family listening to when you were growing up?
Yeah. So I grew up in a suburb of London. It was somewhere where was everybody grew up in that suburb and stayed in that suburb and had
Okay.
families in that suburb. It was a place where everybody followed what had gone before. My parents separated when I was 6 and my mum remarried. We lived in a very kind of average semi-detached house, as they are called, but it had a really lovely garden, two cherry trees, which I can remember loving. I loved being outside when I was a kid. I used to be out on my bike all the time. So it's like
Hmm.
1970s, I was born in 74. So like late 70s, early 80s, on your bike after school, just cycling and cycling for miles and miles. And as long as you were back before it was dark, that was all good. Music wise, it was quite a variety of music. Motown was something that I remember being played on the record player a lot. ELO really sticks out, but Queen was something that I can remember being played at home and also on car trips. We used to drive to France when I was young for our summer holidays because my mum was a French teacher And I can really remember Fat Bottom Girls, which is a very famous Queen song,
Yes.
being played full blast. I put that cassette in, and so Queen and Motown, yeah, they really stand out to me.
Yeah. You mentioned in your email back and forth that you are a Bruce fan, though.
Yeah.
Can you remember when you first discovered Bruce?
Do you know I do? And it was through one of my friends' dads.
Okay.
We he was he would always he was a chef, and he was one of those parents whose house you would go to and you knew that there was going to be so much food. He used to have like big
Okay.
gathering barbecues, and I can remember him playing Bruce, and like they'd put Bruce on and it's like the whole family understood. Everybody was screaming out Bruce at the top of their voices. So that really was, yeah, a moment. I think Bruce is great. And I think often people think of Bruce as he is now, when he was younger, and he's a fascinating character. I think his kind of integrity and the way that he goes about doing things, the way he writes songs, his process, he's a fascinating man. Yeah, really
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about how much intuition and inspiration affects you, and you were saying that you had heard a little bit about Bruce and how his muse speaks to him. Do you want to share a
Yeah.
little bit?
Yeah, so part of what I do with channeling is help people that are creatives. It's so interesting when you say to someone that you channel, it sounds like a really unusual thing. People might think, well, what's channeling? It doesn't sound like something that is a regular activity. But when you start to look at creatives, when you look at Bruce, for example, and you start to look at his process and how he talks about can't start a fire without a spark, how he talks
Yeah.
about intuition, how he talks about that kind of creativity and where he gets his ideas from and why he writes and how he hears music. You start to see this is in all other or many other creatives. They don't say they're channeling. When you look at like Chris Martin, for example, from Coldplay, he talks about his creative process. He talks about, I don't know where these ideas come from. I just like almost like black out for half an hour and I come back and I've got a song. I've got the melody for a song. I've got the lyrics for a song. And so musicians, one of my, well, I grew up listening to Motown and Queen, but one of my real heroes was Prince. Prince Rogers Nelson,
Yeah.
just love Prince. The way he talks about how he creates, he talks about having a song in his head, like a melody in his head. He said it was like a gift and a curse. It's like you can't stop hearing the music, you can't stop getting the melodies, the lyrics. It's just this constant, can I sleep? No, I can't. And then you can sleep, and then you miss that sound of music from inside of you. So the more you look at Bruce, these huge, really unique sounds and people who have so much to say, so much that's universal that we can connect through, and you start to understand more about their creative process. They talk about intuition. They talk about a music from within. They talk about, I don't know where this came from. This dropped into my head. I think Noel Gallagher, he talks about it, and Liam Gallagher. I just woke up and I knew that was the song I had to write, and then scribbling out and then going into the recording studio. So, channeling is fascinating to me in terms of creativity, whether it be music or writing books, because when you start to read in between the lines, Bruce Springsteen's not talking about channeling, Chris Martin's not talking about channeling, chess champions, they're not talking about channeling, but they're talking about this something that is inside of them that connects with something outside of them from where they couldn't have these ideas, from where they couldn't have thought of that, imagined that. And I just find that whole approach to creativity wholesome, refreshing, fascinating, and opening up the channel to be able to receive that creative inspiration is incredible to me. And it's really the reason that both of my sons wanted to learn to channel because of what they wanted to create.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We just hit the 50th anniversary of Born to Run, the
Mm,
album. And I
Mm.
attended a symposium in Jersey talking about it, and they had a lot of people there talking about that. And they were saying that Jimmy Iovine, who later helped create Beats and set a true record millionaire, but at the time was a sound engineer. And he said he thought the only two Bruce words Bruce knew was no and again. And he had it in his mind what he wanted the sound to be. And so trying to get it so that it matches the sound in his head. And that is, you want to call it inspiration, you want to call it channeling, you want to call it divine intervention, whatever word you is, it's there in his mind. The other story I thought of, Ross, is where the movie is coming out as we're
Yes.
recording this in about just 3 or 4 days. And he talked about that when he recorded all the songs for Nebraska on that cassette, when he started having the band play them, he was losing his characters, is what he said. As the
Mm.
band played the music, the characters went away. He
Mm.
had that, he wanted that stripped down version, is what tells that story. So I absolutely can understand what you're saying about, because I'll hear, in fact, I remember this. I was at the Nashville Grand Ole Opry Museum and Country Music Hall of Fame, and Tom T. Hall said the song I Love is a song that makes people crazy because I wrote it in 5 minutes and it made $1 million. They're not
Mm.
always that easy, but sometimes lightning strikes, doesn't it? Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think lightning does strike sometimes. And the thing that I love about channeling is it can be predictable.
yeah,
I think that's the difference when it feels as though you have to just wait, when some people feel get stuck in creative processes. So one of the things I love to do is help people to write books. And
okay.
people get stuck in creativity. People get stuck in communicating. And being able to tune in to your guardian angel and being able to be told what's next is something that is helping people to not just start books, but actually finish them and write books which have these universal themes, which may seem so personal and unique to you, but speak through the language. They transcend and they're able to really connect with people in a meaningful way. And I find this lightning does strike, but being able to predictively being able to actually tune into and access information when you want it is the game changer. Yes, you can receive inspiration, and that's wonderful. But to have that reliable connection is something that I think is really interesting for people to experience. So, my eldest son, for example, he produces music and he knows nothing about music. He didn't train as a musician. He doesn't know any musical theory. He can't read music. And he's producing music that he's channeling through. He actually has a little plug-in like piano thing.
Yeah.
And he is able to create these sounds through channeling his guardian angel. And rather than becoming lost in a creative process, which a lot of people can get lost in, second guessing yourself, is it good enough? Is this right? He's able to produce and make things real. And I think that's what's really empowering is that it comes out, it becomes something which is reliable, dependable, something you can tune into and connect with, but also something that means that you create something. I think a lot of creativity can be a very internal experience for a lot of people. We see the external results of, for example, someone like Bruce Springsteen and other massive artists, but so many struggling creatives doubting themselves, perhaps not being given the opportunity to have the access to certain things that they might feel they need in order to be able to be commercially successful, for example. This really changes the game for them because they're able to produce and create something tangible. It's not just all in their mind, or it's not just something they feel. They're able to get that out. And I personally really love that side of creativity. I think it can be torturous to be stuck in creativity that never becomes anything, that
Yeah.
never comes outside of you. A good feeling, something that you know you could do or is possible. That can be something that carries people through their lives for years, and they reach the end of their lives, and it's a disaster for everybody because they don't ever make it real. And that's what I really am passionate about, helping people to make things real, but doing it from a place of knowing that what you're creating is going to be a success, that you're going to love it, that it's, and you were describing with Bruce Springsteen, that it is him saying, I don't lose, you're not losing the characters.
Yeah.
You're enhancing the characters. You know that you're able to communicate and express a really clear, accurate reflection of exactly what you're trying to communicate. And that I think that's just breathtaking to see. For there to be more music, for there to be more out there that people can enjoy. Because there are so many people that don't do it. Don't you agree, Jesse? They think about it,
Yeah.
they imagine it never happens.
Yeah. I do think that often I tell this story often, Roz, but I've been doing this 10 years, doing this podcast and other podcasts longer. And the what's your advice to start a podcast? And I say a couple things. One, make sure it's a topic broad enough that you won't run out of things to talk about. Two, make sure it's a topic that you enjoy talking about, that even if no one listens, you still want to do it. And three, just go start recording.
Yeah.
Just start. And you probably will not like your first few episodes, but you'll get better and you'll learn and you'll
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things. One, I you mentioned about getting personal and they're becoming universal.
Yeah.
And it is it is almost exactly what the singer-songwriter Jason Isbell has said, that the more specific, the more personal he writes a song, it finds that it's more universal. And if you
Mm.
try to write a universal theme, it may
Mm.
not hit as well.
Mm.
So, Roz, let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
When did you first discover this need or this desire to do channeling? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I was born communicating with angels.
Okay.
So my earliest memory is of angels.
Okay.
And until I was about 11, I thought that everybody could see what I could see. Everybody was having the same experience as me.
Okay.
And then when I got to 11, I went to what's called in England a secondary school. And I was in an environment where I very quickly realized that what I could do wasn't what everybody else
Okay.
was experiencing. And all I wanted, Jesse, more than anything in the world, was just to be like everyone else. I didn't want to
Sure.
stand out, didn't want to be different, didn't want to be weird. And I closed down the communication that I had with the angels. I can remember very clearly standing outside of the geography block and saying to Trisan, no, I don't want it. I don't want communication. I don't want this relationship. And the whole thing closed down. He saved my life when I was in my late teens. I was involved in a car accident and I should not have walked away, but I did. And he intervened at times when I was unsafe. I was a really willful, rebellious child.
Okay.
I was independent. I wanted to do things my own way. I was very self-destructive at a very young age. And I was very wounded, I think. When my parents separated, it really did affect me and I felt very unsafe.
Okay.
My mum had a new relationship and started a new family, and I think for a long time I felt very alone, and that was like a safety mechanism for me. When you're on your own, when you're really independent, when you can make
Yes.
life work and not need anybody else, it can feel very safe, but it's very isolating. I was really capable. I bought my own property when I was 17 years old. Can you believe that? Bought my own flat. That was when it was possible. bought my own flat, got a job, always wanted to make my own money. I had a really great boyfriend for 14 years, very loyal and committed in my relationships. But it wasn't until I got to my late 20s when I met the man that I'm married to now. And we got married within 6 months of meeting each other.
Okay.
And we now have a 20-year-old and a 14-year-old, and we've been married for 22 years.
Okay.
And we we are we live our lives through the guidance of our guardian angels. But I ignored that guidance for many years. My lack of trust in myself made it very hard for me to trust anyone, even Trisam. Because I was born with the ability to do what I do, I didn't value it. And quite honestly, I didn't want it.
Sure.
It wasn't something that I chose. I think if you are, and it may sound strange to say, if you were born with what other people might call a gift, it can have really, it can be very difficult to manage.
I
It can
can
be very,
imagine.
yeah. You have to go through a lot of personal development yourself in order to be able to handle a gift that you've been given like that. I had to grow in ways that I wasn't prepared to when I
Hmm.
was younger. Very self-destructive, very willful. So I went through a lot of my life independent, quite isolated, doing things myself, very capable, making my own money, making my own way in life. And that made me feel safe. And when I had our first son, something cracked open in me. When you have baby, you're very vulnerable, very
Sure.
open, very exposed. And that's when I reconnected with Trisan. And it's funny because a lot of the women who I work with are those same types of women, very independent, very capable, very resourceful, very functioning in the world, but become increasingly isolated. So channeling was something that I could always do. And for a long time, people asked me, to show them how to do what I could do with Trisan. And because I hadn't learned it, because I was born with it, I found it so hard to explain, to describe. You're born with something, you haven't learned it. It's really challenging to explain it. You haven't got a starting point. And it wasn't until Trasan said to
Hmm.
me, "This is how you do it." And we wrote a book together, actually. It's called, we've written quite a lot of books together, me and Trasan. But one of the books that we wrote is called The Channel of Clarity. And that is the process that Trasan gave us to take you all the way from wherever you are in terms of not even knowing you have a guardian angel being completely new to you, to being able to verbally channel. And that means speaking out your guardian angel's guidance. And that means through that verbal communication, you're able to be separate from the whole experience, because when you verbally channel, you are not in that space of your mind filtering, you're not interfering with the process. It's a very pure way of communicating. And it also means that you can enjoy this wonderful spa-like space, I call it, where you're not in your head or your mind. You are just in a space of that open, beautiful, creative, peaceful place where
Hmm.
all of the ideas can develop. So I could always do it. And it wasn't until Trisam really talked through that process, I channeled that process. And now I teach people from all walks of life. I teach people that are from medical backgrounds to channel. I teach people who are from creative backgrounds, from academic backgrounds. There's no more and more. I was just having a call with someone this morning, actually, and we were talking about how more and more people are becoming open to what they know is true, which is something more than we are. And some people are able to connect into that accidentally. Some people might know how to do it in
Yeah.
ways which allows them to create music. But this really step-by-step process of starting from the beginning and creating something which means that you have a real tangible physical result in the world is thrilling to me. And it's done in a way which is authentically you. You're able to be your true self. You don't have to get confused or be anyone else or feel as though you have to do things along the lines that someone else wants you to do them. They are pure you, and that is how you're able to be your true self and experience the life that you came here to live. So that's quite a long answer, but
Okay, yeah,
um,
but it makes sense. I was listening because you often gifted athletes are very bad coaches
mm,
because they
mm,
can't explain. They
mm,
just go out and do it because
yeah.
that's what they have. They have this natural ability that, and since and I'm not saying that gifted athletes don't work hard, they work incredibly hard, but it is different than someone taking that who doesn't have that gift and trying to do it. What was there as you're reconnecting to your angel and finding your gift? What was the thought of you wanting to share this process with other people? Why did
Mm,
you decide that you want to coach people, to write
mm.
books, to help other people find this inner self, this guardian angel to help them?
Oh, that's such a great question. So, for a long time, people had come to me and asked me to help them, and that help came in the form of me getting answers for them, doing it for them. And something that I'm so passionate about in life is showing people how to do something so that they can do it themselves. I
Okay.
really dislike dependency. I dislike situations where people have to rely on others, where they're not given the full picture. I find that, and it gives makes my flesh creep. I
Okay.
really don't like it when people aren't able to talk a process, which means that they can do things for themselves. And in the world that I work in, there's a lot of vagary as well, which I find really frustrating. In the spiritual kind of field that I work in, there's a lot of vagary. I like facts. I like clarity. I like things to be put in a process. I like to follow steps. I like for there to be a path to follow and to show people fully and completely how to do something so that they can succeed. I love seeing people succeed. I love seeing people learn something and apply it to their lives and see their lives change. So for me, it's very much about giving people the tool so that they can go off and use that tool in their life in the way that makes the most sense to them. Some people just learn to channel and they learn to channel and use it in an area of their life. They can live the life that I live, they create businesses, they can do things independently, heal relationships, address their health. Some people, once they learn to channel, want to go on to write books. And that's something that I love to do because in the process of teaching people how to channel, we do it together. Like I work with people. What I do in terms of channeling is not scalable because when I work with people one to one, I do it with them all the way through. Like I
Yeah.
really care about, and that's another interesting thing, thinking about what I'm saying here. My my process comes with a guarantee. If you do a program with me, if I teach you how to channel, that has a promise that you will channel. It's not just, oh, I'll sign up for this program and see what happens. Oh, well, you will channel. You will.
Mhm.
I'll stick with you all the way until you're channeling.
Okay.
Everyone I teach to channel channels. I'm that committed to it. And when you've got that much commitment to what you do and that much passion about giving people a tool that can truly help them, it's a big thing. It's a strong calling that I have. I
Yeah.
choose to do what I do. So I love giving people, not just doing it for them, but really showing them doing it together so they're absolutely clear. So they've got no questions, they've got no doubts, they're not wondering if they're doing it right, or helping people every single step of the way to get to that point, and we do it together.
What is everything? There's always someone who is negative. So, what is some of the negative feedback you get, and how do you answer it?
Do you know I get very little?
That's good.
I really do. And I think a lot of that is because someone said to me the other day, I was talking to a client, and she said to me, You're not on TikTok. You're not on Instagram. Your Facebook is just like very quiet. Why, how do you, like, how do people find you? People do find me. I used to ask for reviews. Like when I took people through a process, I
Okay.
thought, I've got to ask people for reviews. I've got to ask people for testimonials. I've got them to write
Yeah.
something. And people just did not feel comfortable to do it. I would send them a mail, they'd have amazing experience, they'd get the result. Can you just write something? And in the end, I just stopped even asking. Because when you have a really intimate experience with someone, and when you get them to that point where they're channeling their guardian angel, and then you say, oh, can you just write something to prove to other people that, can you do something for me? Can you?
Yeah.
It feels so icky and off. So I just stopped
Yeah.
doing it. And this
Okay.
client was saying to me, you don't have any reviews. I can't find reviews. I can see reviews about you for like books that you've written and things like that. And people will say how you've helped them. People just find me.
Hmm.
People find me. I've written books. People will read my books. And if they resonate with what I've written, then they'll reach out to me. But people just find me, Jessie, and they're the right people. They're my people. I'm not trying to. I had an opportunity about 5 years ago when I went to America, and through a succession of events, I became very involved in a lot of the music industry in
Okay.
LA and a lot of very high profile people in LA. And I just stepped back from the whole thing
Okay.
because I'm just really happy doing what I'm doing, people finding me, it resonating with them. No coercion, no
Hmm.
evangelism, no trying to convert or drag anyone. I'm here and people just find me. And that's the best people in the
Yeah.
world because they're lovely. And I work with Trisan to bring people into my world that want to do what I do. So I don't get that. I really don't get negative stuff. I've got a YouTube channel which is small and I haven't put anything on it for a long time. I don't get it. People don't. Yeah, I'm very fortunate.
Good. What has surprised you about this journey?
Oh, that it's continuous.
Okay.
I think for a long time, I wanted a destination. I was
Yeah.
expecting to reach a certain point, but it's
Yeah.
the journey is that it is continuous and that we can really learn and grow all the
Okay.
time. Every day I want to get better. Every day I want to improve.
Okay.
And a lot of the journey for me has really been about self-confidence and believing in myself. And I think although Tristan gives the method for channeling, I think where I really connect with my clients is although we're outwardly independent, although we're capable, although we're able to make our lives work, for so many people, self-confidence just gets in the way. Some people appear to have been born with it. Other
Yeah.
people create a persona in order to be that self-confident person on stage, for example.
Yeah.
But really, a lot of people, the thing that gets in the way is just what's in their head, what they tell themselves about who they are, their levels of self-belief. And I think the journey for me has been about just being myself, not thinking about who I should be, who I need to be, who people want me to be, just being myself.
And is that one of the things you suggest to your is clients the right word?
Yeah, clients,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's less of a suggestion and more of something which, through the relationship that we develop through our work together,
Yeah.
evolves. I think that I it's important to me that when I work with people, they feel really comfortable in lots of different ways.
Sure.
So I want them people to feel comfortable in terms of if we have a Zoom call, where
Hmm.
they are and what time of day that is. And I
Yeah.
spend time help getting to know people. And I think that the other thing is that I really care to help people. I
Yeah.
love helping people. And I have a lot of empathy around that lack of self-confidence, lack of self-belief.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating to me, the more people that I work with, the people that you would look at and just think they would be impervious to any kind of self-confidence issues.
Yeah.
People that you look that are wildly, hugely successful, or people that have really accomplished great things in their life, and you think they've, there's no way that they could have any, even the slightest grain of doubt about themselves. So many people have to steel themselves before they go out and do certain things.
Yeah.
But having that trust in yourself, developing confidence in yourself, being yourself, and really being with your guardian angel, living life with your guardian angel means that you're not on your own and you know how loved you are, and you are encouraged and supported, inspired to be who you have come here to be. And when you are that, you can relax. So, self-confidence has been a big part of my growth and being myself. How should I be? I used to ask that question. I remember once when I was doing an event in Miami, and I'm not really a big fan of public speaking,
Okay.
which might sound like a surprise. I've done
Yeah, a
loads of
little bit.
courses.
Yes.
Yeah. And I can remember we were staying in, the event was in a hotel. I can remember I had really high-heeled shoes on, and it was so hot and my feet were all swollen up. All
Hmm.
the women will understand this. But I
Yeah.
thought this is the way I have to look because I'm not very tall, so I wanted to be taller. And I can remember the
Okay.
sound of my heels clip-clopping
Uh-huh.
through the foyer all the way to the elevator. And I got to the elevator and I'm just about to go up and speak in front of an audience of people. And I turned to the producer who's standing at the elevator with me in a moment of panic. My mouth's gone dry. I feel like I need to pee again.
Mm.
I feel sick. I'm sweating. And I said to her, how shall I be? And she just looked at me and she just said, be yourself. And I can
Yeah.
remember looking at her and thinking, that is not the answer I am looking for. You need
Yes.
to tell me how I need to be, not be yourself. That is, I'm never going to be that. I can remember thinking, no. And I remember the look in her eye like, do I need to talk this lady down off the ledge? Is she getting stage fright? Is she going to bolt?
Yeah.
Get her on the stage, get her on the stage.
Yeah.
But that was such a reflection of who I was. How shall I be? Who shall I be? And once that has dissolved, once that's gone, you're able to relax and just enjoy who you are. And I love it when people are who they are. There's something that shines through them. You find you're able to hear them, be with them. There's, even if you don't like their style of music or you don't
Yeah.
agree with what they say, as long as it comes from that place of authenticity, as long as it comes from that place which is, this is me, and that doesn't mean harshness and hardness, particularly in
No.
the world that we've been today. There's a love that comes with that. There's an acceptance of self that comes with that, which means that other people are involuntarily opening up in that way. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think if you are yourself, not only do you enjoy life much more, not only are you able to make a difference in the world, but you perhaps give people that sense and that feeling they might not be aware of, that you can be yourself too. How cool is it that you are you? That is so amazing. Not needing anyone else to tell you that you can be, or
Yeah.
freedom.
It is, Roz, and that it's a cliche, but it's true. We don't need another Ros Place. We have one. We don't need another Bruce Springsteen. We have one.
We don't.
We don't need another Jesse Jackson, heaven forbid. Everyone is unique, right? And so by
Absolutely.
them doing that, yes, I could see when you're nervous and all that and that anxiousness. And I could see your thought of, okay, that's easy you to say, be myself. What's that mean? But yeah, that's it is actually beautiful advice.
Yeah, it's lovely. You just
Yeah,
relaxed and you're yourself and you're not judging yourself. And I think from that place of being yourself, you're much more inclined towards tolerance and acceptance and appreciation of
yeah.
others as well. It's not just what you experience for yourself, it's how you're able to be with others.
What haven't you done that you want to do? What is
Oh,
something on the bingo card that that you've been thinking about, you guys together, you and your guardian angel, thinking about what's something you want to do that you haven't yet?
help children.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Really create something that's going to help children.
Mm.
That's a big one. And I think as my work becomes more established and more well known, people reach out to me a lot. I used to do guardian angel readings for children, and they are incredible, particularly for helping parents to understand their children as well as children understand themselves. They're so
Yeah.
empowering, positive, but finding a way of helping children and young people to understand how to do this, because it means that you can develop such strong discernment, such an ability to trust yourself, to be someone that you are here to be. It just feels mammoth, monumental, huge, vast, overwhelming. In fact, another story about LA.
Okay.
When I was out there, it's a funny old place, Los Angeles, and I can remember it was a chance meeting. When I went to Los Angeles, I didn't know anybody, and
Okay.
I met someone who asked me what I did, and I told them, and they said, "Oh, you should meet my friend." And then I met their friend, and then their friend said, "This is amazing. You should meet my friend." And through a succession of not that many meetings, I was asked if I would go and read for a billionaire,
Wow.
an actual billionaire, yes, in his one beautiful house in Malibu.
Okay.
And I read for him, and after I had read for him, I'd connected him with his guardian angel. He said to me, "What do you want, Ros?" Said, I don't want anything. And he said, "But you must want something." And he was so lovely and went through all of these different offers for, do you like motorbikes? Do you want a motorbike? I've got motorbike. He was going through all these things. Can I sort this out for you? Can I? And I said, "I don't want anything." And he said, "I'm going to go and speak to my chef. And when I come back, you need to tell me what you want." I sat there and I felt like I could have anything that I wanted.
Yeah.
And he sat down after he'd seen his chef and he said to me, "What do you want?" And I said, "Can you help me to help children?" And he looked at me and he said, "Do you like margarita?" And I said, "I would love a margarita." And we sat on his terrace and we talked about all different kinds of things. Actually made me a margarita. With his own fair hand.
Wow.
And he wrote a letter for me. At that time, I wanted to see if I could get a visa to be in the States. And he wrote a letter of recommendation to me. And he said, "I will help Ros. Yes, I can recommend her for this visa application. And I will help for her to come and help children." And I'm embarrassed to say that when I got that, I actually stopped my work
Hmm.
because I just didn't know. I'd asked for something, but I had no idea how I could do it. So you've asked me a very deep question.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do that. I know it's important. I know that my own children benefit from this. And I know that there's a way that young people can really benefit from this so that they can be themselves, so that they can get honest answers, so that they can be creative, so that they can be free to be who they came here to be. But I just don't know how I'm going to do it yet.
Okay. So obviously you've written some books, you have a YouTube channel, but if you had advice for someone who is wanting to start getting into their guardian angel, to channel their inner creativity, what do you have a couple of things that you'd suggest?
Yeah. First of all, I would suggest that everyone reads the book. The Channel
Of
of
course.
Clarity book is
Okay.
explains the process and also takes you through a process of helping you to understand what your life purpose strengths might be. There's a
Okay.
really great process in there.
Okay.
The way that the place that it all begins may sound so simple, but it's all in your heart center. What I encourage people to do is and it's a practical thing. So I skin to skin. If you bring your left hand or your right hand up to your chest, put your thumb and your first finger under your collarbone. That's it.
Okay.
And then your palm will be slightly cupped, and then that's your heart center space. And then I would love everybody to close their eyes, and this was going to feel like a weird thing to do, but it's the starting point, and say to yourself with feeling, I love you. I accept you for all that you are. I love you unconditionally. And then call your guardian angels light to you. And just breathe. Call love. Call everything that you've been longing for and asking for. Call all of the acceptance, motivation, all of the truth, all of what you know inside but haven't dared admit to yourself, all of what you wish for, every dream. And repeat to yourself, I love you. I accept you for all that you are. I love you unconditionally. And then when you're ready, making sure that your body's the first thing that you see, opening your eyes. That is the starting point. That heart center space, that beginning to appreciate, love, value, accept yourself is the place from which that relationship with your guardian angel can develop and grow. They are with you right now. You have a guardian angel with you right now, waiting to help you to fulfill your dreams, to be creative, so that you get to the end of this life and you know that you did everything that you came here to do. And it all starts with this.
And too many of us don't like ourselves, huh?
Oh, yeah.
As we can always go back to Bruce, he has a lyric. It's a poor man living in his own skin who can't stand the company.
It's
No?
so true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so true.
Yeah.
And that is a huge barrier. And it's something which prevents people from being themselves, from being who they came here to be, and from being creative. We're all here to be creative and grow. And when it's all on your hard drive, when it's all inside, because there's that block, then other people
Mhm.
don't get to experience it. And people live their whole lives feeling dissatisfied, feeling as though they haven't fully expressed what they came here to express. And I've been with people at the end of their lives before. It was one of the things I was called to do. And one of the biggest, most difficult things to see that someone's experiencing at the end of their life is regret for things they didn't do.
Yeah,
Life is precious and it flies by in a flash.
it
So,
does.
yeah, do
Yeah,
it. Whatever it is,
absolutely.
do it.
Very nice. This has been so wonderful. I will include a link to your website and the books. This has been very enjoyable, and I've loved spending time with you. But before I get you out of here, and in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you for some final thoughts. I end every podcast with what we call the Mary question. And what that is, Jay Armstrong, who was an honors English teacher, when he was teaching his students, he would give them the lyrics to Thunder Road, and they would talk about it as if it was a poem and would discuss the themes and the imagery that Bruce shows in the poem. And then he would ask his students, do you think Mary gets in the car? So, Roz, that is your question. Do you think Mary gets in the car?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because I want her to.
Yeah, nope, that's a
What?
very good answer.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
absolutely.
Her and
Yeah,
her
and they
guardian angel said, let's go, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
Absolutely. That's
absolutely.
great. Any final thoughts?
I've had a wonderful time with you.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful that you're doing what you're doing and that you're bringing Bruce into the lives of others in so many different ways. He's an inspirational character, and I'm so glad that you listened to your passions, Bruce, and a podcast, and that you did both because it's been fantastic to be with you. And I'm sure your guardian angel, Jessie, has been guiding you. So that's a beautiful thing.
That is a beautiful thing. Roz, thank you so much. Where is the best place to reach you if they want to get more information?
Yeah, so angelswithros.com is the best place. If you go to my website, you'll see there's loads of different ways that you can explore numbers. I've got a wonderful process for you to go through, which you'll find lots of goodies on there, lots of
Okay.
ways that you can begin to explore.
All right. I will include the link. Thank you,
Thank you.
Roz. I hope you had a
Pleasure.
good
Thank you.
time.
I did.
Listeners, good. Check out the website. Let her know what you think. For now, be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.